Hello and welcome back to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction. This is a new mini-series called Save Your Tears Part 2, Consequences. Massive shout out to Lily5 for the use of her art in the thumbnail. It's absolutely gorgeous, one of Marichat. So make sure you send her some love. All the links are in the description below. Send me some love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, because there might be another part to come, and also so many other stories to come, so you don't want to miss out, and I hope you enjoy. Part 2, Consequences. Marinette's POV. Marinette woke with a groan. Her puffy red eyes stung as daylight dared to shine through her skylight to inform her it was yet another day. She had made it through the night, thanks to her best friend who snored beside her, insisting on a girly sleepover, knowing Alya had been worried about leaving her friend alone after a heartbreaking confession. Part of her had expected him to turn her down, not quite believing he could see her as more than a friend, and yet the words he had used had pierced her in a way she hadn't expected. Marinette rubbed her temples and groaned at her head pounding from exhaustion and too many tears. She gathered up all the dirty tissues from beside her bed, tear-stained, snot-covered reminders, and placed them in the toilet. When she had told her bestie she was going to do it, finally confessed to Adrien and asked him out to the party, she hadn't believed her, bringing up her brief relationship with Luca and a few failed attempts at dates, blaming it on her trust issues at letting anyone in, including that of Adrien, knowing she had the burden of Ladybug on her shoulders. Had her bestie been right all along, or had she been right, finally letting her guard down and asking the one person she had held on to as a sunshine on a cloudy day, only for it to pour with rain? No. She blocked out the words he had used that stung to her heart as if she already knew them. The look on his face as she ran from him. No, she wouldn't keep replaying it inside her mind, tormenting herself. Ambling down the stairs, she sighed at the mess they had left behind in the kitchen, making late-night chocolate cookies Alya had insisted they needed. She placed down the glasses on the side of the sink and took a cloth, smearing together the chocolate and the flour into the counter. They had tasted good. Freshly made cookies always did, but they didn't fix the gaping hole inside. No one could heal that but you, Adrien. Had she been right to run away from him? She didn't know. Maybe it wasn't fair, not allowing him to explain how he wanted her to stop. To stop what? Loving him? From caring? From rejecting all other chances she had held out for him? Hoping that he would... Oh, what was the use? Part of the tears she had shed were from the anger she felt at herself for creating this false belief in this ideal she had formed inside her heart and mind. Loving him had made her lonely. A feeling that could only come from a one-sided relationship, always kept at a distance with fear as your constant companion. But what was the point of reliving it now? She had confessed. Oh, that gut-searing pain awakened inside of her. No. There was no more tears to be shed. She tried forcing back the shame, images of his face. How could she face him now? She finished making a cup of coffee for Alya and a peppermint tea for herself, taking them back up to her bedroom. Her friend's red hair was strewn across the pillows and half her face. She didn't know what she would do without her best friend, who had become more like her sister. How once they had been strangers and now they were family. dunking homemade cookies into ice cream, vowing to unleash her wrath as they found comfort in Beauty and the Beast, whilst curling up having a pajama party in bed, remembering the countless advice from Tiki and Trix and the other Kwamis, her little voices in my head, confessing they knew nothing about love, but believed Adrien and I would find a way to be together. She knew her little friend meant well, hoping to bring her comfort and not to give in to the anguish, fearful of a butterfly. Maybe Alya was right. If she was truthful with herself, she had kept him and anyone else at a distance due to all the secret keeping. How could she be with anyone with all the lies? And yet, when Adrien had draped his arm around her shoulder the other day when discussing Rose's birthday, the light squeeze at her ideas and his sunshine smile that brought a warmth to her and sparked to life a slither of confidence, enough for her to finally speak her heart, knowing soon she might not have the chance after graduation. So how had she gotten it all wrong? How had the love for him become a wound that would never heal, and there was no way to stop the bleeding? "Oh, is that for me?" Alya moaned, stretching out her arms as her eyes searched Marinette's for countless questions. "One extra large mug of coffee as ordered." She slipped on her cozy woolly jumper and sat cross-legged on the chaise, waiting for Alya to join her. "Thanks, girl." Her friend inhaled the aroma of coffee before carefully taking a sip. "So, I was thinking today we could set up for the party." "Sounds good to me." "What? No counter-argue for skipping class? Not... I think it's a good idea." Marinette nodded, feeling the peppermint soothing her stomach. "Great. 'Cause I messaged Julika last night and said we would meet her at the hall this morning. First, we can grab some breakfast on our way. You realize my parents are bakers and we sell breakfast treats better than anyone else." "Yeah, but are you having any?" "No." "Girl, you need to eat. I think you've lost a little weight because, I get it. It wasn't that. And I did plenty of eating last night to the point I feel sick this morning. Thanks, but I'm fine." Marinette stood up and gave her friend a pat on the shoulder. "I'm gonna go and have a shower and get ready to go." Which Alya only nodded her head in response, grateful that she wasn't speaking her mind this morning, flooding her with a million versions of, "Are you alright?" At least her other friends hadn't found out what had happened, and she could spend the day pretending everything was fine. She was used to lies. What did it matter if she told a few more? The space was coming together, with Marinette's theme of a candy shop, a metaphor for Rose's sweetness, and the pink lanterns she had discovered online were perfect to hang from the ceiling. Alya had been right yet again. This was the perfect distraction today. Put her mind into design mode rather than... No. Back of the mind. Breathe. During the afternoon, they finished placing the flowers on the table and hung the millions of fairy lights, raiding everyone's Christmas decoration boxes. The hall had transformed into a magical place and was no longer a reminder of what could have been, but instead it would be a great night with friends. Friends. That was the one thing she hadn't realized could be a casualty of telling Adrien how she felt, was losing a friend. "Alya, you know I love your fierce side, along with your gentler, caring..." "Girl, you know it. No one messes with my little bug," Alya said, flipping her hair upside down and scrunching her hair wax into the ends before flinging her hair back and striking a pose. Marinette giggled, rolling her eyes at her bestie's theatrics. "And I thank you for that. But this evening, be nice to Adrien," Marinette quickly added, seeing her friend's eyes go wide. "He is our friend, and my friend doesn't do..." "No, Alya. He is our friend, and I would hate to lose that on top of..." He has a right to say no to me. Okay, but what he said? Yeah, trust me, I get it. But that wasn't him. It didn't sound like him. What he would say, so maybe... Girl, you can't stand there after last night. You cried for 2 hours solid and then kept breaking at the mere reminder of him. You can't justify. I'm not. I learnt of all the songs that I can't listen to now. Reminders. But we also know him. He can't lose. Well, you and Nino, because I got my heart broken. So promise me you won't go all heavy on him? Marinette raised her eyebrows at her friend, holding a fixed look until her bestie gave way to the request. Oh, all right, fine. I'll calm it back for you. I know my man's feeling pretty torn up about it. You're like a sister to him, and seeing him become all protective was sweet. Yeah, we go back 10 years? Wow. You guys are family. We were Adrien's family, and I would hate... In time, I will put it behind me. Plus, soon we are graduating, and who knows what his father will do or request of him. We might not see him again. Oh, the stabbing sensation in our hearts at the thought of not seeing him again. Not ready to give that up. Bittersweet images of his face, that smile, his touch. She held a finger under each eye and forced the tears back, and not to ruin the makeup Alya had just done. She reached over, rubbing Marinette's shoulder to bring her back into the room and away from the torrent of thoughts. Girl, I get it. You don't need to keep selling me the idea. Now, can we focus on how amazing I look in your design? She said, striking a pose in a slim-fitted dark green velvet dress which almost looked black in the right light. I think Nino will need to carry his tongue around all night with his mouth constantly open. You look breathtaking. Are you sure you don't want to wear that other dress? Gesturing to the dress on the side. No, that was for... No. My pink polka dot will work fine, Marinette said, curling her hair into a high bun with a few strands delicately framing the sides of her face. You'll fit right in with your design of the party. Alya gave a little smirk. You do you. Rose had made several squeaking sounds as she skipped into the hall and gestured at all the small touches. Nino took turns on the decks, mostly taking Alya's request, and the room was filled with laughter. Marinette couldn't help but feeling the joy seep into her and wash away the last 24 hours. That was until the group in front of her parted and revealed Adrien standing there looking smart in a suit, and he was wearing her hat, the one she had designed just for him, even down to the fake feather. He was staring at her, his eyes burning into hers, trying to tell her things she wasn't ready to listen to. She could see he wanted to step closer, reaching out his hand for hers as the image of him floating in front of the moon in New York for the dance. But the way he had held her, wrapped his arms around her, rubbing his face against her shoulder and cheek. Oh, no, no, no. I can't break down. Not here. She shook her head, removing the thoughts as a tear broke free. If she was to tell the truth to Adrien, what would she even say to him? Loving you was young imaginations, and wild and free to believe. Loving you was cool when she wasn't, and hot cheeks blushing, and sweet possibilities. Loving you was sunshine on a cloudy day, safe in my world and with a sound like a melody. With you in my heart, I would create a steady place to let down my defenses. But it turns out, loving you had consequences. She watched as his gaze hit the floor. Sorrow and fear blended across his face as he turned his back to her. It was his move this time to walk away, removing the possibility to speak to her heart. Maybe it was for the best. Who was she trying to fool now? She couldn't say those words to him? No. If he had found a note which had dropped from her hands, then he knew. He knew she loved him, and he was choosing to walk away from her. She felt Alya's arm reach around her shoulder, bringing in for an embrace. "You good, girl?" she whispered. Marinette nodded, struggling to form words, knowing all that would come out of her mouth was a jumble of noise. The room was spinning around her, the stuffy air getting caught in her chest as she struggled to breathe. Soon, this pain would stop. Soon, she would be fine again. Soon, but not yet. She kept glancing at a view of him from the corner of her eyes, wondering what he was talking about as he moved from one classmate to another, looking just as awkward as she felt, not having his usual anchor in his best mate. She could feel the well of emotions fill once more. It was time to leave. "Hey, I'm gonna head off." Marinette gestured towards the doors. "Are you sure? I'll come with." "No, you stay, have fun." Marinette faked a smile, knowing her friend could see through it. Alya raised her eyebrows. "Let me walk you out, at least." Marinette weaved through the crowd and came face to face with Adrien. "Marinette, please, can I have—" She heard the pleading in his voice as his fingers brushed against the fabric on her sleeve, and yet the dam was breaking. It was crumbling at her feet, and she couldn't create a scene at Rose's birthday, no. She could hold back the tears until she felt the night air hit her face. She needed to hold on, pulling her arm away from his hand. Oh, why? Why did loving you have consequences? "Evening." She hadn't heard her kitty at first, his voice taking her by surprise as she tried to smudge the tears away from her eyes, not wanting Cat to see her like this. "Not tonight, kitty. I'm not in the mood." "Sorry, I thought—" She kept her gaze fixed on Notre Dame, knowing if she saw the pity on his face to go with the sound of his voice, it would be too much. "Well, you thought wrong." "I thought wrong. I've gotten all wrong, kitty. I'm a fool. No, just breathe." "Please, don't say that, princess. You are no fool. You are the opposite of a fool." "I'm a fool for thinking he would see me? That anyone would see me other than a friend? That I am worthy?" Her words fell apart as the tears took over. She blew out shallow breaths of air, exposing the wave of emotions which were threatening to crash down on her. Cat flung his arms around her from behind, leant his head against her back. "I see you, princess. I promise you, I do. I see you for the amazing princess that you are. There is no one like you, Marinette." The strength in his arms wrapped around her with the added weight of his head on her back. How? How had she treated her kitty so poorly as she held out for Adrien? The person who was holding her, seeing her, somehow had always been there for her, and what had she given him in return? Rejection, time and time again. For what? "Kitty, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She placed her hand on top of his and gave them a light squeeze. "What for? You have nothing to apologize for. What can I do to help? I will do anything to take this pain away for you." "Having you here helps. Somehow, you are always here for me when I need you." It was true. Why hadn't she allowed herself to be loved by this kitty instead of latching on to an ideal? Marinette, I'm so sorry, he had said in a way that told her he knew her pain, a pain she had caused. She turned in his arms and buried her face in his shoulders until her tears began to ease. She rubbed her cheek against his collarbone and heaved a tremendous sigh. "Oh, you must have the best heart in the world," she whispered, her fingers tracing the pattern down his arm. "No, I'm just a silly cat, Marinette. You are a true princess with a heart of purest gold." Oh, wow! How can he say such words to her, knowing how he would react if he discovered her secret? "I know you loved Ladybug, and she kept rejecting you. How can you keep loving someone after that? After someone who was your world just dashes your heart into pieces? How? How have you done this for so long, Cat?" "I don't know, but it's not something I would wish on you or anyone else. I meant what I said, Princess," he whispered into her hair. "I'm at your command. Tell me what you wish, and I'll make it right for you. No one should make you cry when you bring such joy to so many others." He took her head in his hand and tipped her face up so he could see her eyes, gently wiping a few stray tears from her face. "Save your tears for another, Marinette. He doesn't deserve them." She stared into his eyes. Was her kitty being earnest, transforming his usual flirtation into bouts of love? "I realize that I'm much too late and you deserve someone better, but there is no one better than you," she whispered, keeping his eyes locked onto hers. Then, suddenly, he dove for her lips. She could feel a sense of warmth, passion, and to be wanted. There was no way this kiss could be telling her a lie. She wrapped her arms tighter around him, threading her fingers through his hair, pulling him closer as she kissed him back, replacing the anguish with her kitty, her partner, who would always seem to be there for her at the right time. Felt right. Should she? Could she return this affection? But his purr thundered out into the night as he pressed closer against her. They broke apart, breathless and trembling in each other's arms. A rosy blush tinted her cheeks like a fever, her lips parted in a delicate "oh," as a realization of what they had just done came home to them both. "Cat, I didn't know you... me... You're crying?" She saw the glistening tears glide off his mask and onto her bare cheeks. I'm so sorry, Marinette. Shh, she soothed, placing a finger over his lips. "Save your tears for another day, kitty. It's okay. I wanted it too." He took her hand and turned it so as to kiss the inside of her wrist. It was an intimate feel as she shivered at his touch. He breathed into her skin. "Marinette, I am yours, if you'll have me." She ran her hand along his hair and caressed around his cat ears, bringing out the purr once more. A hand struck down the side of his face, pausing over his mask before lifting his chin with her gentle hands. "Are you sure you want me? Just plain Marinette?" "There has never been anything plain about you, Princess," he said. "And yes, more than you'll ever know." Cradling his jaw in her hands, brushing her thumb across his lips, she studied his eyes until she found the answer she was looking for. He meant it. He really meant the words he was saying. Replacing her thumb with her lips, she kissed him, ridding herself of her aching heart and mending it with hopes of this new love. Her kitty felt right in her arms, letting him in and finally admitting to herself what she had been so scared to before. He flooded her senses and filled every aching fibre of her heart to bursting before slowly pulling away. "Then I'm yours, my prince," she whispered. "You mean it?" Cat asked with a wide grin. She did. She really did. Knowing they could take it slow. Healing from Adrien, but also the clarity of finally admitting her feelings for Cat to herself. Knowing he had found himself drawn to both sides of her. That he saw beyond her mask. Kitty leaned in and gave her another quick kiss on her smile, followed by one on the forehead, bidding her good night, and he would come back tomorrow night to see his princess. "Sweet dreams, princess," he called out before showing off with a rolling jump off the roof. "Night, my kitty," she giggled, waving at a silly cat before bringing her fingers back to her tinkling lips.
"Marinette, do you think this is a good idea? What about Adrien? You're not using Cat."
"Tiki, I would never. And Adrien? I can't keep holding on to someone who doesn't see me that way."
"It has only been a day with Adrien, and what you said to him all those times as Ladybug?"
"Tiki, I get it, but it's different. Ladybug can't date him. It would mess up fighting akumas and finding out my identity. But Marinette, there is no confusion."
"You are still Ladybug without the mask. How do you think he'll react when he finds out?"
"He can't find out, Tiki. Not while Shadow Moth is around."
"I just think you need to be careful, Marinette, with your heart and with the safety of the city, but mostly with Cat."
She didn't reply. She didn't have the answers. Was she risking it? Was this a foolish move, or was her kitty the right choice all along? What she hadn't expected was to be confronted with Adrien, standing in her bakery the following morning. He seemed tired, like he hadn't slept, and nervous. Oh, why? Why did he come here? A bout of hesitation came over her at the thought of talking to him, when before there wouldn't have been, even though it would lead to awkward conversations. At least she was running on low expectations. What could go worse than the other day? He edged closer, weaving through the people, forming a queue, and received an unwelcome looks. "Hello, Marinette. Sorry, excuse me?" he said to a lady with an oversized shopping bag as he tried to make his way around her. "Hey, Adrien." She took a steady breath, not wanting to fumble over her words today. He no longer made her flustered that way. "What can I do for you?" she added, using her sharp voice, fighting back her emotions as she avoided his eyes. I was thinking. You don't have to if you don't want to, but could we talk, please?" She glanced up and saw for the first time a square piece of paper in his hand. It was her note. He knew it all then. Why did that suddenly make this feel easier, no longer hiding her feelings? Marinette glanced over at her maman and got permission to leave with a half smile at her daughter and a look of disappointment at Adrien. "Okay, come this way. We can head out the side door." "Thank you," he muttered and quickly added, "Morning, Mrs. Dupanchang." "Do you mind if we talked in the park?" She held open the blue door, allowing him to go first, brushing past her. "No. He is going to say his piece, and that will be it. You have Cat now. who sees me whilst I see every siren that I was ignoring, signs of this true feeling, and now I'm paying for it. No, that's fine with me. As they ambled down the path, an awkward silence hung between them, not knowing which one should go first. Adrien? What was... Marinette, I'm so sorry for what happened. Here, I want you to have this back. I didn't think if you would want me to keep hold of something. Yeah, thanks. She grabbed hold of the folded letter and noticed the smudges across the writing and paper and the countless creases in the folds. Can I ask? He paused in step, still glancing down at his shoes. Did you mean it? The words you wrote? I mean, I don't have a right to ask such questions, and of course you don't have to answer. She could hear the emotions building in his voice. Just be honest. Now is your chance to lay everything on the line. Turning away from him and glancing at the stones beneath her shoes, she began, Yeah, I did. And I'm sorry too, Adrien. I should have seen the signs. You didn't see me that way. He was about to interrupt her, but she kept going. But I felt like I needed to tell you that loving you was young imagination, and wild and free to believe. Loving you was cool when I wasn't, and hot cheeks blushing and sweet possibilities. Loving you was sunshine on a cloudy day, safe in my world and with a sound like a melody. With you in my heart, I would create a steady place to let down my defenses. But it turns out, loving you had consequences. She sensed him getting closer to her with a light touch on her arm, and she pulled it away from him. No, she wasn't going to follow the rabbit down the hole, not when she had a cat now. What do you mean? Consequences, he said behind her. This? The heartache. She turned round and saw her own pain mirrored in his expression. I mean, can we still call ourselves friends? Yes, of course. I mean, it's not that simple. I never knew your words. It doesn't matter now. None of it does. How can you say that? He was interrupted with the akuma alert going off on his phone. Blasted akumas! Can't Shadow Moth take a break just this once? He groaned under his breath. I'm gonna head back to the bakery. Make sure my parents... Let me walk you. Make sure you're... No. She held her hand up, stopping him, needing to find her alleyway to transform. I'll be fine. Get back safely. Before he could say anything else, she turned and ran back out of the park, lost in the crowd. Ladybug zipped out of a nearby alleyway, putting Adrien behind her as Cat Noir came to the front, nervous and excited to see her kitty again. Her mind replaying last night's confession, and the kisses caused goosebumps to form inside her suit. No, that was Marinette. He had uttered all those words to her, not Ladybug. The last time he had seen LB was the morning of... Guilt erupted in her gut about how she had treated her Cat Noir, all for the chance of Adrien. She needed to say sorry for how she reacted. She jumped down onto the roof next to Cat. Hello, LB. It's Mr. Pigeon again. Let's do our usual and finish up quick. There is somewhere I need to be, he said, his tone low and full of annoyance. Hey, Cat. Yeah, okay. Can we chat after, just for a second? Sure. He extended his staff and vaulted off, getting into position. She was grateful that it was Mr. Pigeon, guessing this must take him well over the 100 mark now. but at least it would be fast and clear-cut. He watched as Miraculous Ladybug zipped across Paris. Pound it? She held her fist out to him. Yeah. What was it you wanted to say? Noticing the anger in his voice, she took a steady breath. I wanted to say sorry for what I said last time. Sorry. Because of you, I ended up hurting one of my dearest friends, saying words which were meant for me and not for her. Sorry. I'm the sorry one. Sorry that I fell into the trap of loving you, one that caused so much pain. I'm sorry. For loving you was dumb, dark, and cheap, knowing that loving you will still take shots at me. At first, I found loving you was sunshine, but then it poured, and I lost so much more than my senses. I lost the chance to be with someone that really loved me, saw me for me. I'm sorry, 'cause loving you had consequences. His hurt and anger shot through her heart. Had she done that to him? Her cat? Her kitty? So LB, you don't have to worry now, because at this moment of time, my heart belongs to another. So I'm asking you to respect that, knowing I have stopped doing all this. Her legs felt like they were about to buckle underneath her. The pain, the loss, but mostly the words. Oh, the words. No wonder they had cut so deep. They had been the words she had used on Cat, and he had used them on Marinette, but as, which meant no. Her kitty was Adrien. No. Without another word, she flung out her yo-yo and ran. Yeah, loving you had consequences. Thank you for listening to part 2 of Save Your Tears, Consequences. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button if you did. Comment down below. I know I am the queen of cliffhangers. Comment down below what you think of it and what will happen next. Part 3 will be coming out next week, so don't worry about that. And yeah, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on the next part and find out what happens next. And I hope you're good. We've got plenty of tissues, and I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye.